Don't forget to like, subscribe and share the videos.
Warm greetings, students. Welcome to Ganesh IAS Academy. My name is Ahmed and I'm going to discuss with you the answer key for subjects like Modern India, Environment and International Relations for the Prelims 2025, which was held on 25th of May. So let's get started with questions on Modern India. So this is the first question on the board. So please take a moment, pause it, try to answer it, and then you can start with listen to the discussion. So the question talks about question number 11 for set A. Consider the statements about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay. So even before getting to the question, I will tell you about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. A little introduction. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a foremost reformer of the 19th century, and he was a versatile scholar too. He himself is a linguistic who knows more than 7 languages, and he has authored so many books in different languages, including Persian. And he was a staunch supporter of monotheism, which means he believes in one God. And he has authored a famous book, A Gift to Monotheists, in which he argues that even Hinduism does not support idol worship. That was his view at that time. Even his own mother rebelled against him. So that's how a scholar he is. And he was one of the pioneer in abolishing sati. And we all know that Government of India Act 1833, when Lord Governor General William Bentinck was the Governor General who abolished sati, and it was Rajaram Mohan Rai who was pioneer in these reforms. So let's read the statements. Statement says he possessed great love and respect for the traditional philosophical systems of the East. Well, I have to say he was a reformist, which means he did not possess as much as love for his system, and instead he wanted everybody to think and read the religious scriptures for themselves. He wanted reforms, not the other way around, which means statement 1 cannot be true and statement 1 is incorrect for you. And statement number 2, he desired his countrymen to accept the rational and scientific approach, the principle of human dignity and social equality of all men and women. This is his ideology. He supported equality. He does not believe in, discrimination based on birth. That's how he was in the 19th century, ahead of his time. So the right answer for this question is option B. Only statement 2 is correct. Moving on to the next question. Question number 12. So question number 12. Pause for a moment to try and answer. And consider the following statements regarding non-cooperation movement. Okay, so let me give you an introduction to non-cooperation movement. So what is non-cooperation movement? Well, non-cooperation movement was a reaction by Indian nationalists to the Rowlatt. It was actually expanded on Rowlatt Satyagraha against this Rowlatt Act, which stifled the liberty and freedom of Indians. And hence, Indians took matters into their own hands and decided to protest against the government by non-cooperating with them. And there were so many things in agenda, starting from strikes, boycotts, picketing of liquor shops, and so on and so forth. And hence, this corporate movement was initially a successful movement until 1922, when a group of mob decided to torch a station in the state of Uttar Pradesh, a place called Chowri Chowra. And then Gandhi was, shocked, appalled, to be honest, with the situation, and he called off this non-cooperation movement because he does not want this to be a mob justice. He wanted this to be more of a, satyagraha kind of justice. And this is non-cooperation movement with a summary introduction. And let's read the statements. Boycott of law courts and foreign clothes. Yes, it did happen. Observance of strict non-violence. Yes. Due to the second statement not being followed was the reason why Gandhiji had to call off this movement. And statement number 3, retention of titles and honors without using them in public. Yes, it did happen. and establishment of panchayats form of settling disputes. Yes, local government was king. And we could even say there were parallel governments. Not that the kind of government that happened during the year 1857, that was the first war of independence, but yes, to some lesser degree. So the right answer for this question is option D. Okay, we'll move on to the next question, which is question number 71 on set A. My apologies, students, you have to bear with me because it takes time to scroll all the way to question number 71. This is question number 71. So Mahatma Gandhi, he has made so many different statements. He has authored so many different books. But one of his statements came as a question in this year. Let's read the statement. Sedition has become my religion. It's a famous statement given by Gandhiji. At the time of, well, Gandhiji made many different statements. But if you could think of different kind of statements and the options, let's compare this to statement number one. The Champaran Satyagraha. Well, I believe we all know the meaning of sedition. Sedition is something which is done against the government, and hence some person has broken the law and he or she is incarcerated for violation of the law. And especially the act is meant to insult or create a derogatory atmosphere against the government. So this is sedition in summary. And if you read statement number one, the first option says the Champaran Satyagraha, 1917 Champaran Satyagraha, which was against the British government. But British is actually coordinated with Gandhiji to bring justice to the settlers, not the settlers, to do away with the settlers, and to the peasants, especially the tenants in Bihar. And hence, statement one cannot exactly be called a sedition. In fact, the British government coordinated with him at the end of the day. And statement number three, attending the second roundtable conference in London. Well, a roundtable conference is more of inviting Congress. They invited Congress. Let's have a discussion. Let's have a discussion on constitutional reforms, Swaraj, and independence. And hence, Gandhi would have never made such a statement during this occasion. And statement number four, launch of Quit India movement. Launch of Quit India movement, I believe it was the year 1943. What happened was all the nationalist leaders, including Gandhiji, was arrested instantly. They would never have time to sit and give a pep talk in the media or the news channels. And hence, the only statement that is left is option B, which is the right answer. Publicly violating sort law at Dandi. Yes, Gandhiji gave the statement during his Dandi March, famous Dandi March of 1930, I believe, 1930s. Next question is question number 73, set A. So, who provided legal defense? The people arrested in aftermath of Chauri Chaura incident. Well, we did talk about non-cooperation movement, and this question expand on it. After non-cooperation movement, government came down heavily on the people, and people have to, endure police brutality after non-cooperation movement, which happens during every major revolts and movements in British India. And if you look at the statements, sorry, the options says that Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Well, Jinnah was not in terms with Congress at that point in time, and Saifuddin Kichu and Khwaja Singh are more associated with a different movement, and Madan Mohan Malaviya is more associated with uh, you know the religious extremism, and C.R. Das is the lawyer and a pro changer after 1930s who went on to form Swaraj Party with Motilal Nehru. So C.R. Das is an advocate, and yes, C.R. Das is the right answer. The next question, 74, set A. Subsequent to which of the following events Gandhiji consistently opposed untouchability and appealed for its eradication from all spheres, decided to include upliftment of Harijans in his political and social program? Well, this happened immediately after the Roundtable Conference. But what happened immediately after the Roundtable Conference was signing of Pune Pact. Okay, and Ambedkar was very much inclined towards having a separate electorate for the depressed classes. Even in independent India, we have incorporated this reform to have separate electorate for depressed classes. But Gandhiji was not, in favor of it. When he saw when the Mohammedans or the Muslims, when given separate electoral classes, there was clear line of communal division between the people who are Hindus with a different faith and Muslims, and hence he doesn't want to draw a line, and instead he want to merge things. So this is why he went on to form a Pune Pact with Ambedkarji, and the right answer is Pune Pact. The last question in modern India, SETI, question number 78. So actually, it is about the self-respect movement. Okay. So who among the following was the founder of self-respect movement? Is none other than the Periyar. So Tandai Periyar, as he is called, is a reformer from the Madras province. Okay, at that time, and now Tamil Nadu. So Tandai Periyar was actually a congressman. He was in Congress for many years, but he decided to come away out of Congress and start a separate movement called Self-Respect, where he wanted to abolish the caste system, and he did not even agree there exists a God. That's how he was. He was totally against the caste and the religious form of discrimination perpetuated in the name of religion. And he went on to form his own organization where he preached equality and social justice. So that's the legacy of Periyar. He is still remembered in many parts of the world, not just India. And the right answer for this question is option A. So this is it for modern India, and we will start with international relations. First question in set A for international relations is question number 62. So India is one of the founding members of International North-South Transport Corridor. Okay, so when we are talking about mobility, first thing comes to our mind is so many different ways of transport, and we build international corridors like we have the Middle East corridor, like the Silk Road that the China is trying to expand on, and similarly this is one more corridor. It tries to connect different continents, intercontinental corridors as they are called, and the international north south corridor is one of them. And this corridor, you know, has the aim to expand the economic prosperity of its member states, and especially the states which passes through it, thereby connecting people, cultures, and help thrive economy. So this is a brief introduction. Let's get into the options. So the question asks you, where does it connect? What does it connect? So the answer for this question cannot be option B, because India and China, not a big fan of connectivity, especially when they are together. And India to Southeast Asia, no, that's an incorrect statement. The right answer is India to Central Asia via Europe and Iran. So this is a very straightforward question. What you have to do is you should, whenever you read the newspaper, come across such corridors, you just have to look at the map. Google Map works perfectly for it. So that's it. This is a question. And the next question is question number 92. Okay. Pause and try to answer the question. So the question talks about BIMSTEC, Bay of Bengal Initiative for Connectivity, Eradicating Poverty, add so many to it in the agenda. Well, BIMSTEC has to see on par with SARC because these two are regional organizations of South Asia. Okay, when SARC connects so many important countries in South Asia like India and Pakistan, BIMSTEC does not include Pakistan. So this should be seen on the backdrop of complete failure of SARC to have a meaningful discussion on different problems which concerns the region. If you look at the region of South Asia, you can find so many things in common, especially challenges. First thing is poverty. Poverty is stretched throughout South Asia, and most of the countries have more number of poor, more than the population of few European countries. This is also a fact. And these countries does lack regional connectivity. Okay, we have borders which are not settled. So we can go on with so many different things that actually unites in terms of challenges. But yet still we cannot form a coherent group like European Union. And we still struggle with differences in cultures, unsettled borders, and so on and so forth. So let's get into the options. So it is a regional organization consisting of 7 member states. Yes, as the name says, name of the 7 countries: Bangladesh, India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka. As simple as that. And the second statement, it came into existence with the signing of Dhaka Declaration 1999. No, it is not Dhaka Declaration 1999. It is actually 1997 Declaration. So the third statement is Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Nepal. Not Nepal. Nepal is not a founding member. And tourism is not India. It leaves this option D, the right answer. So the next question on IR is question number 97. Question number 97 is interesting because all the 3 statements are correct. 16th BRICS Summit was held in Russia. Yes. Indonesia become a full-time member of BRICS. Yes. January 2025. Theme of 16th BRICS Summit was, yes, strengthening multiculturalism. But the options does not have all the above statements. Hence, what we believe is that this question can be neglected during UPSC evaluation. And hence, put this question on hold. Don't go ahead with your answers. Okay? Don't count this question. And then we'll move on to environment. Starts from question number 31 for set A. This is question number 31. Okay. Statement 1. This is a new model in UPSC which was introduced in 2025 where 3 statements are given, and usually statement 1 is correct statement and they want you to check the veracity of statement 2 and statement 3, and whether any of these or all these statement 2 and 3 explain statement 1. So very interesting question. So let's start. So the statement 1 is usually considered as a right statement. Carbon dioxide emissions from cement industry account for more than 5%. Look, cement is a very strategic industry for all the nations. If you look at the present trend of urbanization, urbanization is directly proportional to the growth of cement industries, because everyone needs houses and offices which can be constructed using cements. The same way, many of the developing countries like India is actually trying to construct homes to all its citizens, which means the demand for cement is actually increasing day by day as we speak. And it is only natural to think that how this industry is contributing to the greenhouse gases emissions. And yes, the process of very manufacturing itself causes so much of carbon to leak into the atmosphere. And we'll see this. Statement number 1. I'm sorry, statement number 2. Silica bearing clay is mixed with limestone while manufacturing. Yes, it is, and it is a fact. And limestone is converted into lime during clinker. Look, clinker is like a stone, looks similar to coal, but it is not coal. Clinker is used in manufacturing cements. Okay, the very process of using and manufacturing clinker emits so much carbon. That's why the total process emits more carbon, because all its subsystems or peripheral parts requires more and more carbon intensive materials to manufacture it. And the right option is answer A. Both the statements are correct, factually correct, and yes, they explain, because the manufacture process itself requires more and more carbon intensive materials. Next question is question number 32. Talks about United Nations COP28 meeting, as it was in the news, and generally statement 1 is correct, and statement 2, the COP28 declaration. Okay, it says that the declaration is a binding declaration. Generally speaking, all the treaties, international treaties, do not have binding obligation on its member countries, except a few, like we have a convention on desertification, which is indeed binding. Other than that, we don't have even nationally determined contributions or voluntary in nature. But it is just they are tracked, the progress are tracked by a different independent organization. And hence, any treaties on the international parlance is considered a non-binding treaty, and which makes statement 2 incorrect. So if statement 2 is incorrect, then we are left with only option C. Only one of the statements is correct, and the statement explains statement 3. Yes, the statement 3 is a right statement. India's health sector is decarbonized. Let's take not just India's health sector, the health sector of different developing countries. If we ought to compromise on these technologies, why is it decarbonized? What's wrong with health sector? Look, health sector requires buildings first, and buildings need to be constructed, and there are different equipments which needs to be manufactured, and especially electricity needs to be supplied. Okay? If you are talking about decarbonizing the sector, you should start with all the basic elements that construct the sector, which are made of different industries, both linking upstream and downstream industries, which are carbon intensive. Starting from, let's say, production of electricity, which is distributed to hospitals, they are coming from thermal power plants. And let's say constructing a hospital itself requires cement, bricks, steel, iron, steel, and everything, which are carbon intensive. And hence, decarbonizing could actually compromise India's goals to eliminate poverty and do away with its many different health challenges, which makes statement 3 correct. We'll move on to the next question. The next question is question number 34. It's not 34. Looks like that is repeated. Number 30. Look, one more factual question. Which of the following launched the Nature Solutions finance hub for Asia and Pacific. So it is a very factual question. There is nothing to explain about it. It is an initiative by Asian Development Bank. We usually get to see reports from World Economic Forum, IMF, and the World Bank. Now this is ADB. It's just its role. So next question number 37. Very interesting question. Peacock tarantula. When you hear the word tarantula, you can relate this with spiders. So UPSC has made it a habit to ask questions from biodiversity, which makes us to read any of the books from undergraduates which talks about biodiversity, Indian wildlife. Maybe a random book from an Indian Forest Service officer could suffice. So let's read the statements for you. So it is an omnivorous crustacean. Definitely it is not a crustacean. It is not an omnivore. Okay. This spider is a carnivore. Okay. It is not an omnivore, which makes statement 1 incorrect. Its natural habitat in India is limited to some forest areas. It is true because the spider species spends most of its time in trees. Looks like somewhat like a navy blue in color, and it is a very beautiful tarantula. And the statement 3, its habitat is arboreal. When we say use the word arboreal, we are referring to the species, okay, biota, which lives most of its time on trees. Okay, this is actually true statement. It leaves us with only 2 and 3. The next question, question number 38. 3 statement questions, but a different kind of 3 statements. So CO2 emissions in India, actually it is 0.5, not okay, there is a mistake here. It is actually 0.5 per capita. If you look at the historic Indian emissions, the graph goes somewhere like this. Actually, increases steadily, but after hitting the 21st century, it takes a steep line, which means it was not 0.5, it is more than 2 actually. The emissions per capita, it could even be close to 2.5, which makes our statement number 1 incorrect. Because India is a developing country, obviously it requires most of its electricity demands comes from technologies which are primitive, which are built 100 years back. That's how it works. We don't have the renewable energy technology as the developed country possesses. And these developed countries are reluctant to share the technology with the developing countries. Statement 2. In terms of CO2 emissions from combustion, India ranks second in Asia Pacific after China. Actually, if it talks about Asia Pacific, then the only country which can compete with India can only be China. Japan, no. Japan does not even have the populations to compare it with PPDs, I mean, per capita. Hence, for the second, which is a true statement, and electricity. Leave this heat produces, don't even take this into consideration. If the statement reads electricity, then electricity generation is a major reason why India is a major polluter of emitter of CO2, because we use thermal power plants which caters to more than 50% of our needs. This is a report from CEC, Central Electricity Commission. So you guys can search for this commission and know more about it. And this leaves us with option C. 2 and 3 are the right answers. The next question, again, a biodiversity based question. So cassava, we have seen cassava, we have eaten cassava in our daily lives. Yes, it is woody. As you can see, the stem is clearly woody, and it is actually a woody shrub. Okay. Ginger has pseudostems. Yes, it is true. And Malabar spinach is a herbaceous climber. Yes, it is. Mint is not an annual shrub, actually. Mint is not an annual. When we say annual, it has a limited period of growth and existence throughout the year. So that's when we call a species annual. Hence, mint is not. And papaya is not a shrub. Papaya is actually a tree, which leaves us with option B, the right answer. The next question, 44. consider the following: cigar butts, eyeglass lens, car tires. How many of them contains plastics? It's all the three, guys. Usually, even toothpaste consists of plastics in the form of microplastics. Microplastics are so ubiquitous that they are even found inside a human body. So that's how it is. Microplastic pollution. It's prevalent every day as we speak. Even the submarine canyons, which are deep undersea, are polluted with microplastics. And we do not know its health impacts yet because we are still under investigation. What does these microscopic materials, if enter the body, actually do to our body? This is still something we are trying to figure out. But yes, it is a kind of pollution. Let's wait and watch then. The right answer for this is option C. So this is all for environment, and we will look into some of the miscellaneous questions. Starts from question 30, question number 30 for set A. So Rashtriya Gokul Mission, a pretty old scheme actually, launched during the year 2014, I believe. And the scheme was to promote animal husbandry by supporting indigenously bred cattle. Because as you know that it's not just the agriculture sector, not just the farming sector, the non-farming sector has actually equal amount of people who see this as a supplement to their income. And hence, to promote this, to whenever you promote a non-farming sector, because non-farming sector is so much prevalent in our rural areas, you try to eliminate rural poverty. So this is the objective behind, and most of the industries are either cooperatives or they are self-employed, very micro. They do not even come close to micro industry. That's how small these businesses are. Okay, we'll call them cottage businesses, something like that. Very small, a rural side. And let's read the statements. Upliftment of rural poor as majority of yes, statement one is true. And yes, both the statements are true. So the right answer is option C. Moving on to the next question is actually question number 82. Okay. So this is actually a little bit controversial question. Consider the statements. Indian Railways have prepared National Rail Action Plan to create future-ready railway system by not 2028. It is actually 2030 by 2030. Hence, actually statement one is incorrect. The question clearly says which of the above are not correct. Okay, highlight this word not. Which leaves us with statement one as the confirm answer. We'll read statement number three. Covered system consists of RFID tags fitted on track and station section, not just station section, almost everywhere. So these tags are used everywhere, not just the stations, which leaves statement 3 to be correct. Eliminate statement number 3. We eliminate statement number 3, we are left with the problem with statement 2 is Kavach is called an system which is indigenously developed by India. But it also takes into account the assistance from countries like Japan and Germany. But the statement reads Kavach is an automatic train system developed in collaboration with Germany. Well, actually, Germans assist us in developing this. But can we call this a collaboration? Well, I don't know. We cannot exactly say that. Let's wait for the official key. So we'll go by elimination and eliminate option 3 to reach option A as the right answer. So far, we'll keep option A as the right answer for our evaluation purpose. And the next question, question number 99. So question on Coco. Yes, it was an event held in Delhi, India 2025. For the first time, a Coco World Cup has been organized. This is organized in India. The next World Cup will be organized after 4 years, I believe. And the first statement is correct. The next two statements are incorrect because the scores have been interchanged. It's 54-36 for men's and 78-40 for women's. Please excuse me. And statement A is right. The last question. So the chess Olympiad, which was held in 2024, and Gukesh won this title, Grandmaster title, against not a Russian player, but a Chinese player, Ding Liren, his name is. So statement 1 is incorrect. And Abhimanyu Mishra, an American chess player, becoming world's youngest ever, he's 12 years old. And yes, statement 2 is correct. So leaves us with option B. Okay. This is it for this discussion. Thank you so much.